Hey everybody, Mama Hen back at you again with a brand new video. Today I've got a question for you. I want you to think hard, but not too long. The question is, who says a boxed cake mix doesn't make a good cake? I say differently, and I'm going to prove that today. So let's get started. Now, the directions on the back of the box says to add water, show you, water, oil, and eggs. 1 cup of water, half a cup of vegetable oil, and 3 eggs. But I'm going to change that today, and I'm going to make my own version of a very good boxed cake mix. So to start, I've got a half a cup of butter. Half a cup of butter. I use very good quality butter. This is the brand that I use. And I'm going to put that into the mixing bowl. I can get it out. So a half a cup of quality unsalted butter to start. I like to add a little extra fat to my cake mix, so I'm going to use 4 tablespoons of butter flavor Crisco. And I've been doing this so long, I know what a tablespoon is, so I don't have to measure it. But a half a cup of butter and a 1/4 cup of butter flavor Crisco. That just adds more fluffiness to your cakes. So a little extra fat don't hurt nobody. To that, I'm going to add the contents of the cake mix. And I just randomly picked no particular brand or flavor. It just happened to be that I picked Spice cake mix. Okay. And into the bowl it goes. To that, I'm going to add a couple of tablespoons of instant vanilla pudding mix. You know how I feel about my pudding mix. It goes in just about everything that I bake, from cakes to cookies and the like. So a couple heaping tablespoons of instant vanilla pudding mix. Okay, no particular brand, it's just whatever you come across. Just make sure it's instant and not cook and serve. Okay, and I'm going to blend. Just until the butter and the shortening gets incorporated into the dry mix. So that takes a few minutes. Okay, once you get that creamed, you're going to add the 3 eggs that the recipe calls for. One at a time and blend. All right. Last but not least, I'm going to add a 1/2 cup of full fat buttermilk. You just drizzle that in till it gets incorporated into the batter. Forget about the oil, forget about the water. You want to add taste and texture. And this is the way in which you make an ordinarily yucky box cake mix into a very luscious and flavorful cake. You don't need to overbeat. You want to scrape down the bowl at least one time while you're mixing. You don't need to add salt or any baking powder or baking soda because it's already in the mix. And that's the beautiful thing about using a box mix. For people that's on the go, you don't have a whole lot of time and you want something pretty much like homemade, this is the way to go. Okay, I've got a square baking pan. I like my square baking pan, so that's what I'm going to use for this recipe. So I'm going to lightly spray on all points so that the cake doesn't stick to the pan. And get all that yummy goodness off of the spatula. You don't want any of that to go to waste. Now you can also, if you prefer, to melt your butter and incorporate that accordingly. It's not necessary, but you can do that if it'll make you feel better. By all means, go ahead and do that. And just gonna take my spatula and finish mixing. And you can already tell from the thickness of this batter that it's going to be a great, luscious cake. So basically, this is a pound cake. In essence, this is a pound cake. And so if you follow the recipe as given, you'll come out with a great finished product. I'm just gonna evenly distribute that around the pan. And it says on the instructions that, well, there's a very important tip here, which I forgot to mention. If you're using aluminum or glass, you want to preheat your oven to 325. If you're using ceramic or cast iron, let me reverse that. The darker the color pan that the pan is, say for instance, cast iron, you want to go to the lowest temperature, which is 325. If you bake with aluminum, or whether that's pre-made or the actual cake pan, you want to go 350. Okay. So even though the instructions say otherwise, I'm telling you what works. I've been doing this for 30 years, so I know a thing or two. I don't know everything, but I know a thing or two. I've got so many cake pans, it's ridiculous. I've got just a whole host of sizes and colors and shapes for just about anything you want to bake. I have done it all. So, just finished getting that into the cake pan. I don't do box cake mixes very often, just because I like to do homemade. But when I do, this is how I do it. And it works just fine. The instruction says at the most, so I've got a bundt here, I've got a square bundt, so 41 minutes. Basically 45 minutes, it'll be done. And evenly distribute that throughout the pan and level it as much as you can so that it rises nicely. You want it to bake evenly. And my oven is already preheated and it's ready to go. Okay. Just level that out so that it's even on all sides and it'll bake evenly. Okay. Nice and even. Takes a minute to get everything evened out, but it's so well worth it because you have a nice uniformed size cake. So we're just about done. Presentation means everything. Not only do you want the finished product to taste good, but you want it to look good. So presentation is everything. Okay, and then once that's done, you want to tap the pan a little bit just so the air bubbles escape. You won't have any big holes in your finished product. And off to the oven it goes. There'll be somewhat of a long intermission, if you will, to allow the cake to bake. So go off, do some things or whatever, and I'll be back with you in approximately 50 minutes, okay? Hang tight. Okay, I'm back with the finished product, the Spice Box Cake Mix. And I've prepared a little bit of icing, a little bit of powdered sugar, some cream cheese, and some heavy whipping cream, and I'm going to drizzle that across my cake. Let's see if I can turn it down some so you guys can see what I'm doing. Okay. See if I can do this nice and neat, as neatly as possible. Just a little drizzle of icing over the top of the cake. Okay. Bring that down a little bit. Little crisscross. Well, you get the gist. At any rate, cake is still hot, but I'm going to cut a piece and show you guys the end result of my spiced box cake mix. Now, I've forgotten, just because I'm not used to doing box cake mixes, I'm used to doing the homemade thing with the flavorings and all that. I should have added some vanilla extract. I did not. So you might want to do that, or some butter, or whatever flavor you like. And so here goes. See that? Isn't that lovely? Didn't that look delicious? You could also add some raisins if you like in the batter. You might even want to put some dates in it, or bits of apricots, dried apricots. There's a lot of variations. You can even put some walnuts or pecans, chopped walnuts or pecans. So here we go with the taste test. Give you another look at the slice of cake itself. You see that? Nice and fluffy. Just the way I like it. Nice and fluffy. A little bit of heaviness. This is the consistency of more of a cream cake than a pound cake, but that's what you get when you do box mixes. At any rate, it's wonderful. Great texture and taste. The only thing that I would do differently is add some vanilla or butter flavoring. But anyway, it's also good with a cup of hot tea. Cup of hot tea always goes wonderful with any baked good. I happen to be drinking black tea with a little bit of orange. But anyway, why don't you give this recipe a try? Do any flavor box mix that you like, and instead of following the directions where it says oil, replace it with butter. Good quality unsalted butter. Where it says water, never add water to a cake mix. I'm sorry. You may, now with the exception of a chocolate cake, you do want to add a portion of water. But other than that, don't do water. Do whole fat buttermilk, even milk, heavy whipping cream. You want to use some type of dairy. You can even use sour cream. Okay, that'll give it a little denser texture, but it works well. And do the same amount of eggs, and you'll have a wonderful, wonderful box cake mix. If you like this video, and I trust that you will, that you would give it a thumbs up, a share, and a subscription to my channel. I've been noticing that I haven't been getting a lot of views, and I don't know if it's because you guys don't remember to subscribe or whatever. But if you like my content, please give it a like, a share, and subscribe to my channel. I'd greatly appreciate it. With that said, bye-bye.